The first contact zone, the spaceship. Sol Horizon landed slowly on the glowing purple soil of the alien planet Vel'thara. The air was clean, the sky had 2 suns, and everything looked peaceful. Birds with crystal wings flew overhead. Trees had silver leaves that made soft music in the wind. Inside the ship, Ethan Cross, a young human diplomat, looked nervous. This was his first mission as a representative of Earth. He had trained for years to speak with alien species, but he had never faced something like this. Today he would meet the Vel'tharans, an alien race known for strange customs and peaceful behavior. The ship door opened with a soft hiss. A long walkway extended forward into a wide, open field. Dozens of female Vel'tharans stood in formation, dressed in long, flowing gowns that sparkled under the sunlight. Their skin was smooth like polished stone, colored in soft blues and greens. Their eyes were large, bright, and kind. Ethan took a deep breath and stepped forward. A translator device in his ear whispered, "The Vel'tharan welcome ceremony is beginning. Please bow lightly when they approach." Ethan reached the end of the walkway and stopped. Then it happened. One by one, the alien women stepped forward, smiled, and lifted the front of their dresses in one graceful motion. Ethan's eyes widened. For a moment, he thought they were showing him something private. His face turned red. He didn't know whether to look away or act normal. The translator buzzed again. "Do not panic. This is a traditional greeting." Under the dresses, he saw glowing golden markings on their thighs and hips. The patterns pulsed softly with light. No skin was revealed, just the glowing shapes. The lead alien woman smiled. "Welcome, human Ethan," she said through a soft voice translator. "You have been honored with our full light." Ethan blinked. Thank you." The other Vel'tharans giggled softly. They didn't seem offended. In fact, they looked pleased. It was then that Ethan realized this was their way of showing respect, not laughter, not words, but by revealing the light of their markings. A new figure stepped forward from the group. She was taller than the rest, with silver eyes and a golden mark glowing on her collarbone. Her dress was deep violet, and the way she walked was graceful, like a queen. "This is Lady Sayalari," the translator whispered. "She is a noble of the Vel'tharan High House." Lady Sayalari stepped close to Ethan. She looked at him carefully, her eyes studying every move. Then she slowly lifted her gown, as well, revealing bright golden patterns running up her leg, more complex than the others. Her marks pulsed brighter when she looked at him. Ethan took a deep breath and did his best to bow. "I am honored, Lady Sayalari," he said. She tilted her head, curious. "You do not return the gesture?" she asked. Ethan blinked. Humans don't have markings like that." Lady Sayalari's eyes sparkled. "Then how do you show trust?" Ethan hesitated. "We shake hands, or smile." The noblewoman gently raised her hand. "Then show me your smile, human." Ethan gave a nervous but honest smile. Sayalari's markings shimmered again. She nodded. Strange, but honest. The crowd clapped. Lightly, a sign of approval. Just then a soft drone flew over them, capturing the moment. It broadcasted the event back to Earth. A human news network quickly picked it up and gave it a shocking headline. "Alien women flash dresses at human." "Diplomat, is this first contact or first date?" Back on the ship, Ethan's assistant, Mira, watched the screen with wide eyes. "Oh no, this is going to go viral." Ethan had no idea about the video. He only saw the peaceful smiles of the Vel'tharans, and for the first time since he landed, he smiled back without fear. But deep in the shadows behind the ceremonial grounds, a group of watching figures didn't smile. They whispered to each other in a strange language. One of them pointed toward Ethan. "He must not stay long," the voice hissed. "He is dangerous, even if he doesn't know it yet." And so, what began as a strange, glowing greeting was about to turn into a conflict of culture, power, and deep secrets. The translator, Glitch Ethan Cross, stared at his reflection in the mirror of the Vel'tharan guest quarters. He still couldn't forget the greeting from earlier. The dresses, the glowing markings, the crowd of graceful alien women showing him what, back on Earth, would have caused chaos. He touched his earpiece translator. Did I just ruin 1,000 years of peace by looking shocked? He whispered. The AI replied in its calm voice. You maintained 87% protocol accuracy. Your facial expressions were questionable. Ethan groaned. Meanwhile, on Earth, a storm was building. The broadcast of the event had gone viral in less than an hour. Headlines shouted, Alien dress lift sparks interstellar confusion. First contact or first flash? Human diplomat blushes. Was it a mistake? Millions of people laughed. Memes spread like wildfire. Some called it funny. Others said it was disrespectful. No one knew the truth, but the Vel'tharans did. Ethan was summoned to a private meeting with Lady Solari, the noblewoman whose markings glowed the brightest during the greeting. He followed a glowing path through the alien city. Buildings floated. Light passed through walls and water flowed upward like liquid glass. Inside a circular chamber, Lady Solari stood alone. Her face was calm, but her markings glowed faintly, a sign of quiet anger. You did not offend me, she said softly. But your people are laughing. Ethan froze. We didn't mean disrespect. We didn't understand. Solari turned. Her voice was colder now. That light we show is sacred. Every mark is a memory, a name, a pain, a victory, and your news calls it a joke. Ethan tried to explain, but the translator began glitching. Human emotion is error, incomplete concept. Wait, what? Ethan tapped the earpiece. The AI crackled. Translating markings. Interference detected. Memory pattern overload. Then it shut down. Ethan stood in silence. Lady Solari stared. The translator can't carry what the markings say. They are not just light, they are our soul scripts. She walked forward. The room dimmed. In our culture, she said, when we show these to another, it is trust, not a ritual. Not a joke, it is opening the book of our blood. Ethan swallowed hard. I didn't know. No one told me. She stopped inches from him. Then you must learn. Suddenly, the walls of the chamber lit up. Holograms surrounded them. Images of Vel'tharan girls, each lifting their gowns to show fading marks, cracked symbols, lost family lines. Some wept, some glowed proud. One child's image flickered. Her markings were completely dark. That was me, Solari whispered. My lineage was erased in a rebellion. I carry no name in my light. Ethan felt a chill. You were the first outsider I greeted this way, she said. Before he could respond, an alert lit up on her wall. A Vel'tharan symbol flashed red. Solari's eyes narrowed. Others have seen your Earth's reaction. Some want revenge. Outside the city, in a hidden fortress, a secret council watched the viral human videos. Their leader, Varkal, clenched his fists. They laughed at our sacred bond, he hissed. Then let them see the fire beneath the glow. A trap of honor. The sky above Vel'thara turned orange as twin suns dipped behind the silver mountains. A soft wind carried the sound of music from the glowing towers of the city. But Ethan Cross didn't feel calm. His stomach twisted with worry. He stood in front of a tall mirror, dressed in a formal robe given to him by Lady Solari. Strange golden threads ran through it, and a small symbol projector was attached to the waist, designed to display a fake set of Vel'tharan markings on his thigh, just like theirs. This feels weird, he muttered. His assistant, Mira, stood nearby, checking the translator device. You want to gain their trust, right? Then you have to do it their way. Just don't mess up the symbol pattern. Ethan took a deep breath. Tonight was the Feast of Shared Light, a ceremony where he was expected to return the greeting shown to him by lifting the robe and projecting respect symbols onto his leg. But if even one symbol was wrong, he could insult someone's lineage, call them weak, or worse, invite a duel. The chamber doors opened. 2 armored Vel'tharans entered. It is time, The celebration hall glowed with golden lanterns. Alien music echoed softly, and the scent of burning spices filled the air. Hundreds of Vel'tharans sat in a circle, all watching as Ethan stepped into the center. Lady Solari stood near the front, wearing a dark robe with new symbols glowing. On her sleeves, symbols of protection and risk. Ethan's heart raced. A high priestess rose. Her voice echoed, "Let the human now return the trust he was given. Let him reveal his intent." Ethan nodded slowly. He reached down to lift the side of his robe. The moment his fingers moved, the symbol projector activated. Golden lights flickered across his leg. At first, the crowd remained still, but then, something went wrong. The symbols twisted. The glowing shapes on his leg changed into sharp, broken lines. They formed a sign Ethan had never seen. The entire room gasped. Lady Solari's eyes widened. The high priestess dropped her staff. "He shows the mark of severed bond. That is a challenge to our peace." Guards stepped forward, weapons drawn. Ethan's mouth went dry. "Wait, no, it's a mistake. The device glitched." But no one moved. A nobleman stepped out, tall and broad, his eyes burning. "You insult my ancestors, human. Now you face Vel'tharan law." Solari quickly stood between Ethan and the angry warrior. "He does not know our language of light. He trusted us to teach him. If there is blame, let it fall on me." The crowd murmured in shock. "No," Ethan said quickly. "It's not her fault." The nobleman frowned. "Then you accept the challenge?" The guards raised their weapons. Before Ethan could respond, a blinding light flashed through the hall. The projection on his leg disappeared. An old Vel'tharan engineer stepped forward holding a smoking control panel. "That device was tampered with," he said. "These wires are reversed. This was sabotage." Gasps spread through the hall. Ethan stared, confused. Who would do that? Lady Solari turned toward the shadows. Her eyes narrowed. "Someone who wants to turn us against each other." The nobleman lowered his weapon. Then, "The honor remains." A bell rang 3 times. The priestess nodded. "The human's mistake is forgiven, but the one who did this will answer for it." Later that night, Ethan sat alone by a glowing fountain. Solari joined him quietly. "You could have let me fall," he said. She looked at the stars. "You are trying to understand us. That deserves protection." He turned to her. "Why do I feel like someone is trying to stop this peace from happening?" Solari's golden marks glowed faintly. "Because someone is," she said. "And they know that if a human and a Vel'tharan stand side by side, the galaxy will never be the same again." The secret beneath the markings rain fell gently over the glowing city of Vel'thara. Unlike Earth's rain, it shimmered like falling stars and never touched the ground. It floated, danced, then vanished in the air. Ethan stood under a glass arch watching it. He had almost caused a diplomatic disaster, and yet Lady Solari had risked everything to protect him. That night she sent a message. "Come alone. I will show you what our markings truly mean. But you must promise. No laughter, no fear, no judgment." Ethan replied with one word. "I promise." She led him to a mountain cave behind the city. The path was lit by soft blue crystals. A deep silence filled the air. It wasn't empty. It was sacred. Inside the cave's stone walls glowed with millions of ancient markings carved and glowing faintly. The cave pulsed like a giant heart. Ethan stopped. "What is this place?" Lady Solari stepped forward. "This is the Vault of Souls. Only 2 humans have ever entered. One tried to steal from it. The other disappeared." She waved her hand. The walls shifted. Holograms flickered into view. Generations of Vel'tharan women, each lifting their robes with pride. Glowing symbols danced across their bodies, changing with every daughter, every mother, every pain. "These are not decorations," she said. "These are memories turned to light. Our bodies carry our story. Our markings grow when we live through joy, loss, betrayal, or love. Ethan stared. You carry your history on your skin. She nodded. It is more than history. If a woman's markings vanish, her entire bloodline is erased. That is our greatest punishment. She paused, her voice quieter now. I carry a scar on my side, not from war, but from shame. My family once betrayed the high houses. My markings faded overnight. I grew them back by risking my life for others. Then she turned to face him. Ethan Cross, you smiled when I asked. You didn't fake it. That one gesture? It gave me hope. Ethan stepped closer. I didn't know your people carried such pain. I thought the symbols were just beautiful designs. They are, she whispered. But beauty here is born from survival. She walked to a small altar and placed a stone on it. Suddenly a memory played in the air. A young Vel'thara girl, hiding under rubble as fire rained from the sky. Her mother shielded her. Her mother's markings glowed, then dimmed forever. That was me, Sailari said. That was the night I lost my family. I gained this symbol, she pointed to a golden line across her ribs, by choosing to save a stranger instead of running. Ethan was quiet, his voice low. I don't have anything like that. No markings. No family memory passed through blood. Sailari looked at him. No. But humans carry memory in other ways. You tell stories. You build monuments. You remember with your heart. That is your glow, Ethan. A soft silence followed. Then her tone changed. But now, there is danger. The Council fears human misunderstanding. Some want to cut ties before things grow worse. Ethan stepped forward. Then, help me make them understand. Let me speak to the assembly. Sailari shook her head. You are not ready. If you say one wrong word, they'll never trust Earth again. He clenched his fist. Then teach me. Everything. She looked at him for a long moment. Then, she nodded. But unknown to them, deep in the same cave system, a silent sensor blinked red. In a hidden room, Varkul, the leader of the rogue faction, watched the cave feed. She takes him into the vault, he growled. She teaches him our core? Another voice replied. She believes he can save peace. Varkul's eyes narrowed. Then she must be removed. And him. Silenced. Assassins in the garden, the moon over Vel'thara hung low and heavy, glowing silver like a silent eye in the sky. The Garden of Reflections, a sacred place with floating blossoms and mirror ponds, was supposed to be safe. But tonight, shadows moved where light should have danced. Ethan Cross sat on a soft, stone bench beside Lady Sailari. Her robe shimmered in the moonlight, but her voice was distant. You learn fast, Ethan, she said quietly. But understanding us and surviving us are not the same. Ethan nodded, tracing a finger across the pond's surface. I know. That's why I need your help. You've seen both war and peace. Sailari didn't respond. Her golden markings dimmed slightly, as if remembering pain. He turned to her. Do you regret saving me that night? At the feast? She looked at him sharply. No, but someone else does. A sound, a whisper across stone. Sailari stood suddenly. We are not alone. Ethan looked up just as a dark figure leaped from a tree, knife in hand. Everything slowed. The blade shimmered. Sailari moved first. She stepped between Ethan and the blade. The knife sank into her shoulder. She cried out, but her eyes never left the attacker. Ethan grabbed a loose branch from the garden floor and swung with all his strength. Crack! The assassin collapsed, unconscious. Sailari fell to her knees. Her robe darkened with blood. Sailari. Ethan dropped, beside her. You're hurt. Her breath shook, but she forced a weak smile. Only the edge. My heart still glows. More figures approached from the shadows. Guards, alerted by the security burst, 2 more attackers were dragged out. They wore symbols on their arms, the crest of the rogue faction, the same one trying to break the treaty. They're trying to stop the assembly, Ethan said. They want to silence us. Sayalari's hand gripped his wrist. No. They want to burn our future. You and I working together. That scares them. Ethan looked down at her injury. You should rest. You need healing. But Sayalari shook her head. No, come with me. There is one last place you must see before we face the council. He hesitated. But you're bleeding. I've bled before. What I carry is deeper than blood, she whispered. Let me show you what was never meant for human eyes. The guards helped her to her feet, and together they entered the temple behind the garden, a place forbidden to outsiders. As the doors closed behind them, Ethan turned back and saw one of the captured assassins staring at him, not with anger, but with fear. Why are they so afraid of me? He whispered. Sayalari answered softly, her voice echoing through the silent hall. Because you are the first human who didn't just see our light. You reached into it. The day of decision the next morning, Vel'thara's twin suns rose red, not golden. In Vel'tharan belief, red suns meant a day of testing and fate. For Ethan Cross, that felt exactly right. He stood in front of the Hall of Echoes, the oldest chamber on the planet. It was where the Grand Assembly gathered to judge matters of peace and war. No human had ever been allowed to speak there. Until now. Inside the chamber, seats carved from glowing stone surrounded a circular floor. Hundreds of alien nobles sat in silence. Their markings glowed faintly, each telling their personal history. Lady, Sayalari stood beside Ethan. Her arm was wrapped in bandages, the wound from the assassin still fresh, but her posture was strong. Her golden collar mark was brighter than ever. She whispered, Remember, Ethan. They don't want words. They want truth. A deep voice rang out. The high speaker, an elder covered in white glowing symbols, called the room to order. Human, he said, you were shown trust, but your people laughed. Your technology glitched. You brought danger to our peace. Why should we still open our markings to you? All eyes fell on Ethan. He stepped forward slowly. I didn't come here to break anything, he began. I came to learn. But we made mistakes, not out of hate, but out of ignorance. He looked around the circle. On Earth, we've made fun of our own sacred things. We joke when we're scared. We laugh when we don't understand. That's not right, but it's real. Some Vel'tharans stirred, Ethan continued, voice rising, heart pounding. When I first saw your markings, I thought they were just beautiful light. But now I know they are your soul, your pain, your family. I was blind. But I chose to stay and learn. He pointed to Sayalari. She taught me that beauty comes from survival. That memory lives on your skin. That scars can shine brighter than metals. He paused. Earth has no markings, but we have our own ways of remembering our art, our stories, our love. Maybe our glow is invisible, but it's there. Silence filled the hall. Then from the back of the chamber, a mocking voice. Sure, nice words, human, but words burn fast. It was Varkul, leader of the rogue faction flanked by guards in shadow armor. His face twisted with anger. You let a human into our vaults. He survives a sacred challenge. Now he stands in our highest court? You insult the ancestors. The high speaker turned. Varkul, your voice is not on the speaking stone. Varkul stepped forward anyway. He brings only chaos. And that noble, Lady Sayalari, bleeds for him while forgetting her own bloodline. Gasps, Varkul's guard stepped forward. This ends now. Suddenly, they pulled hidden weapons from their robes. The chamber erupted into cries. But before Varkul could raise his weapon, Ethan stepped in front of Sayalari. Stop, Ethan shouted. If you want to strike someone, strike me. I carry no markings, I carry no bloodline, but I carry her light now. He raised his sleeve. Etched into his skin were lines, burned by a sacred bonding flame Sayalari had used that morning. Temporary but painful. A sign of shared burden? I asked for this, Ethan said, because I wanted to know how your pain feels, because peace can't survive if only one side sacrifices. Everything froze. The high speaker stood slowly. He looked at Ethan, then at Sayalari. Then he turned to the guards. Let the assembly decide. One by one, the noble seats lit up. Green for peace, red for war. Light spread, green, green, green. Then, the entire hall glowed emerald. The vote was clear. The Vel'tharans chose peace. Varkul's guards were surrounded, disarmed. He shouted, but no one listened. The high speaker raised his hand. The human has spoken with no markings, but with truth. That is a light we can accept. Sayalari's eyes shimmered with gold and water. Ethan smiled, this time not out of fear, but pride. Honor returned. The sun dipped low, casting long golden shadows across the crystal towers of Vel'thara. But for the first time in weeks, there was no fear in the air, only peace. The Hall of Echoes had spoken. The vote was clear. The human would be honored. The bond between Earth and Vel'thara would not be broken. But victory, always, leaves behind echoes of the battle. Ethan Cross stood on a balcony, looking over the glowing city below. His arm still throbbed with the heat of the temporary soul mark Sayalari had placed on him, etched by fire and memory. It would fade in time, but the meaning never would. Behind him, soft footsteps. You stood when others would have run, said Lady Sayalari, her voice calm. Even our own nobles once feared the fire of our traditions, but you stepped into it. He turned, a tired smile on his face. I was scared, but I couldn't let them take away what we built. She stepped closer. Her golden markings shimmered, not with pride, not with authority, but with something warm and unfamiliar. Do you know, she said, that in our oldest stories, when someone without markings is accepted into the fold, they are offered the cloak of shared flame? Ethan blinked. What is that? She held out a folded robe. It was deep purple, lined with glowing golden threads. It had no crest, no rank, but in Vel'tharan culture it meant chosen family. You wear this, and we will never call you outsider again. Ethan took it slowly, carefully. Are you sure? Sayalari's smile was small but real. You bled for us. You stood against one of our own. You respected what even some of our children laugh at now. If that's not Vel'tharan at heart, what is? He bowed, deeply, fully. But just as he was about to speak, a strange sound broke the air. Cheering. He turned. Down in the Grand Plaza, a crowd had gathered. Vel'tharans of all ranks, nobles, workers, scholars, were all standing, in a circle. One by one, the women stepped forward and lifted their gowns, revealing their glowing markings, not in mockery, but in unity. It was a new ritual now, not just for each other, but for Earth, for Ethan, for the idea that understanding can rewrite tradition. Sayalari stepped beside him. They don't just see you as a human anymore. They see you as someone who listens. Suddenly, a portal screen flickered to life behind them. It showed Earth's reaction. Not laughter this time. Earth diplomats stood in silence watching the ritual, and slowly, the human ambassador placed his hand over his heart, a gesture of respect. One by one, Earth leaders joined him. Then, shockingly, the screen split, showing humans wearing robes with digital light patterns, mimicking the Vel'tharan. Greeting? It was not perfect, but it was a beginning. Sayalari watched with wide eyes. You taught your people faster than I expected. Ethan chuckled. Humans laugh when they're scared, but they listen when someone shows them why they should care. She nodded slowly. Then this galaxy might survive after all. A soft breeze moved through the air. The stars above seemed closer tonight, and for the first time in Vel'tharan history, a human stood at the center of their sacred tradition. Not by force, not by accident, but by honor. Final scene. A child approached Ethan holding a small glowing pendant. She looked up at him shyly. "I made you a marking," she said. "You can't grow one, so I drew it." Ethan knelt, smiling. "Then I'll carry it always, Kyo." Tied it around his wrist. The symbol was crooked, simple, but full of meaning, a light drawn by trust. And that night the stars of Vel'thara blinked gently, welcoming not a conqueror, but a friend.